Today, we're diving into a story that travels all the way from segregation to sovereignty. It's a part of Canadian history that was, intentionally hidden for decades, and it leads to this incredible and often untold story of economic resurgence. Let's get into it.
Just let that sink in for a moment. For over 60 years, this wasn't a policy in some far-off authoritarian country. No, this happened right here, in Canada. It was a system of racial segregation, basically hidden in plain sight. And it's the crucial backstory to so much of what we're still dealing with today.
So you're probably wondering, how did a system like this actually work? Well, it wasn't just some simple rule. It was a really carefully organized and, frankly, insidious policy designed to control pretty much every aspect of a person's life.
Now, the word you really need to focus on here is illegal. The past system was never actually law. Can you believe that? It was an administrative policy enforced by local Indian agents. These were government officials who held immense, almost absolute power over the lives of First Nations people on reserves. If you wanted to leave, for literally any reason, to find a job, visit your family, even to see a doctor, you needed a signed piece of paper from this one person. And without it, you could be arrested and thrown in jail.
This timeline just lays bare the deception at the heart of the whole thing. It was brought in as a so-called temporary security measure back in 1885. But by 1893, even the head of the RCMP admitted it had no legal basis. So did it stop? Of course not. The Indian agents, who were often the local justices of the peace too, just started using vagrancy laws as a loophole to keep arresting people. It was a total legal fiction that kept this system of segregation alive for decades.
And get this, it wasn't just about controlling where people could go. That was only half of it. It worked hand in hand with something called the permit system, which controlled their ability to earn a living. So imagine you're a successful farmer, but you need a permit from that same Indian agent just to sell your own crops. It was this 1-2 punch that created a total stranglehold, controlling your movement and strangling any chance you had of economic independence.
The impact of being controlled so completely for over 60 years, well, it was devastating. This wasn't just some inconvenience. It created these deep, deep wounds that are still being felt across generations today.
Let's really think about what this meant in human terms. It meant being cut off from spiritual ceremonies that were the very bedrock of your culture. It meant being a parent, knowing your child was in a residential school just down the road, but being denied a pass to go see them. It meant getting sick and not being allowed to go to a doctor in the nearest town. And of course, it meant being systematically locked out of the entire Canadian economy while everyone else was building wealth.
And this is really the crucial takeaway. The system wasn't just about physical confinement. It was a deliberate attack on the very fabric of Indigenous identity. I mean, by preventing people from gathering, from practicing their culture, from just being with their family, the system's goal was to break that chain of knowledge passed down through generations.
And please don't think for a second that this is all just ancient history. The legacy of being systematically denied access and treated as less than is alive and well today. This statistic is from 2024. It shows that nearly a quarter of First Nations people still experience racism when they're just trying to get medical care. The roots of this crisis run directly back to policies like the past system.
But, and this is a huge but, this is not where the story ends. Not by a long shot. In the face of this absolutely devastating history, something truly remarkable is happening. We are witnessing an incredible story of resilience and resurgence. Okay, look at this number. Just look at it. $56 billion. That's the size of the Indigenous economy right now. But what's really staggering is the growth, up nearly 58% in a single decade. That's far, far outpacing the rest of the Canadian economy. This is a story of explosive economic power.
And who's driving this? Entrepreneurs. Indigenous entrepreneurs are starting businesses at 5 times the rate of other Canadians. This isn't some top-down government program. No, this is a grassroots movement, and it's fueled by innovation, by determination, and by some incredible business smarts.
And this leadership is happening right across the entire economy. We're talking about 60,000 businesses. We're seeing Indigenous nations become key players in the clean energy transition, like the Highland Nations Cedar LNG project. They're driving major resource development. And often, these business owners are younger, more tech-savvy, and more gender diverse than their non-Indigenous counterparts. They're literally building the future.
So what's next? Well, this growth is just accelerating, and it's pointing toward a future that really benefits every single person in Canada.
But to get there, it requires a fundamental shift in how we all think about reconciliation. It's not about charity. It's not just about righting past wrongs. It's about economic partnership. It's about recognizing that Indigenous economic success isn't just a moral imperative. It is one of the single biggest economic opportunities Canada has today.
And hey, that's not just a nice idea. It's a fact. Economics have actually calculated this. Closing the economic and social gaps that exist would boost Canada's GDP by nearly $28 billion every single year. Indigenous prosperity is Canadian prosperity. Full stop. And for corporate Canada, there's already a clear roadmap. You don't have to guess. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission's Call to Action 92 lays it out perfectly. Build respectful relationships, make sure there's equitable access to jobs, share the benefits from projects, and educate your teams. This is the practical, boots-on-the-ground work of economic reconciliation.
So we end with this. A system that was literally designed to control and limit potential has given way to a future that feels like it has limitless possibility. The story of the past system is a dark, dark chapter of control and segregation. But the story of today, it's one of economic sovereignty, innovation, and leadership. And that is a future we can all get behind.